Friends, in this video, I will talk about Agentic Spectrum. So, have you ever thought, based on previous videos, what we have learned, how, in where the Chat GPT or Anthropic Cloud fit? So, we know we have used these tools a lot, and we ask questions, and to some extent, they also do some research. And based on this, do you wonder whether they are agents or just chatbots? So this is something we are going to discover. So basically, agent is not a label that we say yes or no. It's not a correct way to say that it's an agent or it's not. The correct way to say is that how much capabilities it has. So instead of thinking that whether it's a yes or no, think like how much capabilities it has, how much research it can do, and how much autonomy it has, and how much decisions it can make on its own. So it's an agentic spectrum, and in this spectrum, I keep on the left the tools that have less capabilities. For example, chatbot, answers, no tools, no loop. You can consider this as when chat gpt was first launched few years back, and you could only ask questions and it could just answer. It could not do more than just answering. So it just used to reply what it was trained upon. So it's a plain chatbot. Then there is a second class where we call it tool augmented llm, where it can act, but you drive the search. Majority of times we are using this mode with our chatbots, especially chat gpt and cloud A, where we ask questions and it is doing some research. So it is acting upon data in real time. It is doing web search and gathering these results and presenting you an answer, and not just something it is trained upon, but it is doing some level of research before providing you the answer, right? Because models are trained back in time, and maybe you ask something, weather report, or something that's current affair, then it has to do research or google search or some search to get that answer in real time. So that's something that these llms do these days, and it is in the tool augmented llm category. So now we talk about the full agent. So full agent has this capability, as you can understand. It plans, it acts, it loops. So five ingredients that I talked about in previous section, all these five ingredients work in full scale, and they give you a lot of more powerful capabilities, like thinking, deciding, analyzing feedback, and then improvising. So plain chatbot, you ask it, it answers. Pure reactive, one prompt and one text reply. No tools can't, no, it cannot take any action in the world. No plan, no loop. So it's very simple. So doesn't have these ingredients. You don't set a goal, you plan, you tools. You don't do these things with plain chatbot. So it's on the left side of the spectrum. Then we have tool augmented, as I mentioned, that it does some level of research, some code, some apis it can call, and it does have tools, and it does work upon these tools, but it just shows you the output from these tools, and you have to decide the next step. Then comes the full agent, and full agent is something that's a thing for now. And if I talk about all of the agents that we use today, all of the chatbots, they have this full agent capabilities, but it depends, how much settings, or how much which model you use, how much tokens you have, how much you can spend. That's the amount of capability you get. But these tools, especially chat gpt and agent, they span the spectrum. So you know that it works with it utilizes all five ingredients and try to give you best possible results it can. So it has goal, plan, tools, feedback, autonomy. So where do you see your tool in the spectrum? So we are nowadays working upon agentic AI, and we are developing agents in our organizations for our personal use and all that. And it's not like you can say that it's agentic or it's not agentic. The correct word is where it lies on spectrum, how much capabilities it has. Basically, I divide these things into three categories. One is simple chatbot that just gives you answers based on trained model. Then in the middle sits something that has some capabilities, like it can do some research, it can do some search on Google search, it can call some APIs, right? And then there is a full agent capability. That is something whose examples I will provide now. So I will say that most real products are at the far end. They live in the middle, and that's often the right choice. So most of the products that you see as nowadays are from somewhere in the middle, and they are moving towards full agent. So let's place our familiar kinds of AI tool. Let's talk about some of the tools. So coding assistant. So coding assistant, if you have used JetBrains, IntelliJ tool, and maybe if you have used some other IDE, few years back when there was no AI, it used to provide this capability where of auto completion. So you write a code and it provides you some capabilities, few lines it will suggest, like to initialize, how to initialize a variable, or how to write a function, maybe about syntaxing. So that was just a simple assistant thing. But nowadays you have full agent means agentic tools that can write the code. They write the complete code, they test the code, and if they find the bug, they even fix the bug. So that's a full agent capabilities that we use these days in our organizations. For example, GitHub Copilot and Cloud Agent plugins that we use with our IDE. They have these capabilities to modify the code, write files, analyze, and get the full context of our whole project. So that's a full agent work. Deep research assistants. We have also heard about deep research assistants. They for example, Perplexity's deep research, chat GPT deep research. They have the capability basically to run for several minutes or maybe hours to research on something that you have set. You provide a goal, it keeps on searching web for minutes, and then it there is a feedback loop, and it then try to give you the best answer or try to solve the problems by taking a lot of time, right? So deep research assistants are an example of full agent. So the plan looping pushes them towards the agent, and the more the planning, the more five ingredients you have, the more it pushes to the right end. So customer supports bot these days, you must have experienced, when instead of calling, there is no call center number, they are just diminishing, and you are just getting more of and more of chatbots to chat, and they lie somewhere in the left, because they don't perform some action. They try to just give you answers based on frequently asked questions that they have on their side. So it's based on RAG. Most of the times I will touch the RAG in detail in upcoming videos. So most don't plan, they don't have a goal to handle. Voice assistants like Siri, Alexa, they sit on the left. They you provide the command, you set the alarms, and they just set the alarm, they don't do anything extra. Newer ones are gaining tools, but it's important to note that the new Alexa versions and Siri, they are more AI based, and they have more capabilities, moving towards right on the spectrum. So we have mapped some of them together, like voice assistant, support bots, they are on the left, deep search, coding agents, full agents. So now you know that agent is not something that is that is yes or no. It's basically how much capabilities it has. Then you something you visualize it on the spectrum and say whether it's a full agent or it's an agent with limited capabilities. So positioning is decided by ingredients plus autonomy. So remember the five ingredients we talked about, and the autonomy, the level of autonomy we have with these ingredients, they move the position towards right. The middle is normal, and majority of tools use it. You are already using it, you must have experienced this in your day-to-day interaction with chat gpt and all these tools that are available.